Right now, you are probably not alone. There are people nearby, or a phone in your hand, or a screen that has been glowing in front of you since you sat down. And yet somewhere in your chest, there is a feeling that does not have a clean name. Not quite sadness, not quite emptiness. Something heavier, with no obvious cause and no obvious solution. And that has been sitting there long enough that you have mostly stopped trying to explain it. That feeling has a word: loneliness. But the definition you were handed, that loneliness means being sad about being by yourself, is almost entirely wrong. What you are actually experiencing when that hollow weight settles in is an alarm. A very old, very specific alarm. One built into every human body that survived long enough to become yours. And it was never about sadness. The real answer is far stranger than emotion. Your brain did not evolve to want connection because connection feels good. It evolved to treat the absence of connection as a threat to your physical survival. A threat processed by the same machinery that processes injury. John Cacioppo, a neuroscientist at the University of Chicago, who spent more than 30 years making loneliness his life's work, demonstrated this in a way that reshaped how researchers understood social pain. His work found that the brain processes social rejection, the specific experience of feeling cut off from others, using the same neural structures as physical injury, the same pathways, the same cascade of cellular responses. When you stub your toe, your brain produces a signal that reads, "Something is wrong, correct this immediately." When you feel the specific weight of loneliness, your brain produces the same signal, at the same level of biological urgency, using the same hardware. The pain of loneliness is not a metaphor for real pain. Neurologically, it is real pain. To understand why your brain works this way, you have to go somewhere earlier than psychology or emotion. About 2 million years earlier, to the environment where the architecture of your mind was being built. Your ancestors were not impressive by the standards of the predators that surrounded them. Slow, no natural armor, no meaningful claws or venom, modest strength compared to most of what could kill them on any given afternoon. The single thing that made them survivable was the group. A coordinated band of humans with shared knowledge, cooperative behavior, and collective vigilance could survive in an environment that would kill any single one of them alone within hours. Separation from the group was not loneliness in the emotional sense you know now. It was closer to a death sentence. The archaeological record of early hominid sites contains kill marks from large predators on hominid bones. Attacks were not hypothetical, they were common. An isolated human, without the eyes and weapons and warning calls of the group, was a profoundly vulnerable animal. For hundreds of thousands of generations, this was the equation. Stay with the group, survive. Separate, die. And over those generations, natural selection did something ruthless and precise. It selected hard for any nervous system that treated separation as an emergency. Any human whose separation response was too gentle, too easy to sit with, was more likely to spend the critical minutes after separation doing something other than desperately reconnecting. The fossil record did not favor them. The nervous system you are running on right now is what survived that process, across 2 million years of it. Cacioppo's research began to map what this alarm actually does to the body in living people. In study after study, people experiencing chronic loneliness showed elevated cortisol, the primary stress hormone, the same one that floods your system when you face physical danger. Elevated blood pressure, disrupted sleep, measurably weakened immune response, increased systemic inflammation of the kind linked to cardiovascular disease over time. Every one of those biological changes is also produced by genuine physical danger. They are not the side effects of feeling lonely. They are the alarm activating. The body preparing itself for the threat that, in evolutionary history, reliably followed isolation. And then there was something stranger in the data. Lonely people were not simply sad or depleted. They were on high alert. Their brains were scanning the environment for danger with an intensity that non-lonely people did not show when exposed to the same environments. Cacioppo called this loneliness-induced hypervigilance, the nervous system responding to social isolation by turning the sensitivity on every threat detector it had up to maximum. The reason makes complete evolutionary sense. An ancient human separated from the group would survive longest by treating every shadow as a potential predator and every unfamiliar sound as a possible attack. The alarm did not just make you want to find people, It changed how you perceived the world around you, made it darker, more threatening, more dangerous in every direction. Because in the world the brain was built for, it was. Leanne Corina, working alongside Cacioppo at the University of Chicago, added a specific layer to this picture. Lonely people measured in sleep studies experienced significantly more micro-awakenings during the night than non-lonely people. Brief, partial surfacings from deep sleep, too short to consciously register, but sufficient to prevent the restoration that deep sleep provides. An isolated human sleeping deeply was an isolated human that might not wake up. The alarm did not allow the nervous system to fully rest. It kept the body close enough to consciousness to respond to a threat. So when loneliness is chronic, you sleep but do not fully recover. You wake tired in a way that hours of sleep do not explain. Your nervous system is running an ancient security protocol that was calibrated for a predator-filled savanna, in a bedroom that is perfectly safe. Here is where the design reveals its flaw. The alarm was engineered to drive you toward other people. But what it actually produces, in many circumstances, is the reverse. Because hypervigilance does not only put you on alert for physical danger, it changes how you read faces, how you interpret ambiguous social situations, how much threat you assign to an expression that carries no threat at all. Research building on Cacioppo's foundational work found that lonely people consistently rate neutral facial expressions as more threatening than non-lonely people rating the same faces. A face that registers as simply neutral to someone who feels connected registers as cold, suspicious, or possibly hostile to someone whose loneliness alarm is active. The world does not look the same. It looks like it is watching you. This is the hypervigilance doing exactly what it was built to do, just in the wrong environment. In the ancestral world, if you were separated from your group and a stranger approached, that stranger was not reliably offering help. Caution was the appropriate response. So the brain paired the loneliness state with a defensive posture toward unknown social contact, precisely the contact you need to resolve the isolation. In the modern world, this makes loneliness self-perpetuating. You feel alone. The alarm activates. The alarm makes you guarded, reads social overtures as threats, makes reaching out feel risky in ways you cannot entirely explain to yourself. You pull back. You feel more alone. The alarm intensifies. Cacioppo called this the loneliness loop. The alarm designed to solve isolation ends up, in many modern environments, generating more of it. What makes all of this worth understanding right now is the scale at which the alarm is misfiring. In 2023, U.S. Surgeon General Vivek Murthy issued a formal public health advisory declaring loneliness a national epidemic. The data supporting that declaration showed approximately half of American adults experiencing feelings consistent with significant loneliness. Not occasional sadness, but the persistent, biologically driven sense of insufficient social presence, firing in half the population simultaneously. Murthy's advisory included a comparison that is worth sitting with. Chronic loneliness, in its measurable effect on mortality, is comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. This is not a metaphor about how lonely people feel. It is a clinical measurement of what a chronically activated ancient alarm, elevated cortisol, sustained inflammation, immune suppression, cardiovascular strain, does to a modern body over years. The modern environment is almost precisely designed to keep this alarm active while failing to satisfy it. The loneliness alarm was built to be quieted by specific inputs. The physical presence of trusted people, shared meals, coordinated work, eye contact, touch, the daily texture of a shared life in close physical proximity. These are the signals that tell the ancient nervous system that the separation is over. The threat has passed. A phone full of contacts you rarely call does not send that signal. 100 followers who see a post and tap a button do not send that signal. A video call with someone you love sends a partial signal. None of these reach the parts of the nervous system that evolved 2 million years before any of them existed. The alarm looks at all of it and registers. Insufficient. Keep going. There is one final thing worth understanding about why this alarm is so hard to ignore. Why it follows you into crowded rooms. Why it does not yield to logic or a full calendar. In the world the alarm was built for, missing it was irreversible. A wound ignored might still close. Hunger resolves when food arrives. But isolation that went unaddressed long enough did not offer a second attempt. So the brain calibrated the loneliness alarm to be louder than almost any other distress signal in its repertoire. More persistent, more physically intrusive. harder to suppress with thought alone. It was not designed to be something you could decide to revisit when convenient. It was designed to be impossible to ignore until resolved. You cannot think your way out of it the way you might solve a problem. You cannot convince it that your life contains enough people. It does not take in that information. It speaks a language older than argument or reassurance, and it has only one message. It has always had only one message. It has been delivering that message since before your species had a name for the feeling it was describing. Right now, you are probably not alone. There are people nearby, or a phone in your hand, or a screen that has been glowing in front of you since you sat down. And somewhere in your chest, there is still that hollow weight. Now you know what it is. Not weakness, not something broken in you. An alarm, 2 million years old, still doing its job with everything it has. Built for a world where the solution was always within walking distance. Trying to tell you the only thing it knows how to say. Find them.